The UAE, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait are stepping in to help with economic assistance to Bahrain. What does this mean for the island kingdom? You're watching Inside AB, I'm Jeremy Lawrence and I'm joined here in the studio by Bernd de Boosman. Okay, Bernd, quite an eventful week in Bahrain's economic life. Can you tell us briefly what happened?
So it was quite eventful. Earlier this week, there was news that the cost of insuring Bahrain's debt spiked to the highest since records began in 2008. So it was quite substantial. There was a lot of news that the central banks committed to the peg to the dollar, which essentially means that there's less yield on the dollar bond that's due in 2022.
Right.
There's been quite a number of news items that aren't positive about Bahrain's economy. One said that the projected state budget gap is $3.5 billion.
Wow.
Another that the IMF expects Bahrain's debt to exceed 100% of its economic output next year. So a lot of people in Bahrain and the Bahraini government was kind of looking for reassurances from its friends in the Gulf that they could step in and help somehow, and now they have that.
Okay, and this is arguably in a long time coming, but what do we know so far about what has been announced?
Well, they haven't really announced any details yet. What they've said essentially is that they're considering all options to support economic reforms and fiscal stability. There was a report from Bank of America and Merrill Lynch that said that the deal will be conditional and explicit, which means it'll have very set terms, which is quite different from things that have been said by the other Gulf countries in the past.
Right.
So it'll be kind of a very significant change in policy once this is announced, but they haven't said when.
Right, okay. But there has been some interesting news regarding foreign direct investment into Bahrain. Can you tell us about that?
There was. I thought that was very interesting news because in Bahrain, foreign direct investment rose by 114% last year, but globally it went down by about 23%. So they're kind of bucking that trend. And that in turn obviously is good for the economy. It creates jobs for Bahrainis, fuels growth and helps diversify the economy past the traditional industries in Bahrain.
So that's some very good long-term prospects for Bahrain then. The other big long-term prospect, of course, is this massive new oil field that they've discovered. Can you tell us about when that's going to come in and how that's going to impact the country?
Well, they're still figuring out when exactly they'll start seeing the benefit from it, but the Bahraini government, I went to Bahrain a few months ago and government officials there told me that, ideally it's not just used to bolster that particular sector of the economy. They want to use the funds from that to diversify the economy even further, build more infrastructure, different projects that aren't necessarily tied to oil and gas, which in effect will benefit the entire economy.
Did you get a sense of long-term optimism about Bahrain's economy from those people you spoke to?
I did. They're very optimistic. They're doing lots of different things. Recently, we had a story about its fintech scene, its banking scene. So there's quite a lot going on outside of the oil and gas sector. So they're quite optimistic in the long run, I think, despite negative news in the last week or so.
Okay, well, a big week for Bahrain.
Indeed.
Thank you, Bernd de Boosman. You've been watching Inside AB. Please do join us every weekday at 10 a.m. Subscribe, share, and comment as usual, and we'll see you next time.